Putting textures onto windows, I ran into an unexpected situation. Um, Generally speaking, if you apply a render to a window or a door, you can apply that texture through our traditional means. However, that texture then gets applied to all of the different parts and pieces of that window without giving you any kind of editability here. So if I click on that object, you can see none of that information is here. So a quick look on Google, and I Googled up how to do this because this is something that hasn't quite happened to me before. Well, what I would normally do in this situation, what I have normally done in this situation, is I would ungroup this window to create individual parts and pieces. And I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you what happens. So if I go up to Modify and Ungroup, it's going to ask me, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And it takes away my wall, which is not going to work because I need that wall. I don't want to have to recreate that wall. So it's taken that wall and turned it into a flat object. Now, that being said, my window is separate pieces. And if I ungroup it again in here, then I should be able to click on the individual parts of the window, which I can then apply individual textures to. So that's good, except I don't have my wall. So the next thing I tried, I'm going to undo here, so get my wall back. So this is where Google came into play, and yes, I still have to look things up, and there's a lovely video showing you how to do this, which you can go back and look at sometime. But Vectorworks applies textures to these different parts and pieces using classes. So if I click on the window, go back to my shape info here and settings, it's going to pop up. If I go down here to classes, I can figure out what each individual piece is and define its own class. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's say interior trim. So right now it's set at this window class, which is, it's just set at a window class, so it's identifiable that way. I want to create a new class that I can apply a specific texture to. So this is my interior trim. And I want to edit properties. It's going to pop up, and it's going to bring up this dialog box to edit classes. And if I go over here to textures, then I can choose a new texture to be used at creation. So for this particular one, I wanted it to be this birch material. So that should be okay. So if I go back, so I've got interior window trim. Let's go ahead and say okay for that right now and see what happens. All right, so as you can see, it changed that texture to be birch. Now, what's problematic about this, and this is what is frustrating me at the moment, is that it's all well and good to be able to change that, but there's no way to edit that texture that I have found easy yet. So I can go and change the class for the lintel, for the mullions and muttons, and all the different parts of the window and be the texture that I want it to be. But I still can't, I can't rotate the texture if I want. I can't make the scale larger or smaller if I want. So, so that's problematic for me. It's something that I am trying to avoid. So I want to be able to edit those textures. And the only way I can really do that is if I ungroup this high-level object to do it. So my little workaround for this, just so that you are aware, and I'm going to supply this in the file that I give you, is that I'm going to duplicate this window. I'm going to do the same thing for the doors because I'm having the same issue on the doors. I'm going to duplicate this window, and then I just have to pull it out of the window. This is going to sound really strange, and I hope this works. I think it will work. Sometimes you just have to, find a workaround, find something that's going to work for you. So if I duplicate this, again, you will not have to do this. I'm just showing you what I did for your information. So I've duplicated that window. I'm going to go to a top view and select it. I'm just going to pull it out. So now that window has been pulled away from my wall. I still have the original window. The wall is still there. All is well with that. And from here, I just need to be in a non-top plan view because I will lose all the 3D information if I ungroup it from here. Let's just go to a top view. Top view is a three-dimensional view. Pull it away a little bit. And from here, then I can ungroup. So again, it's going to ask me, do I want to? Yes, I do. And then if I kind of click around, you can see how all of those different pieces are now separate. Let's go to and then let's try to make this easier to look at in a different view. I'm going to pull it up here for now. Go back to a front view. So again, so now I've got this object, which just is an extrude. That window in the back is getting in my way, but there's a solid of subtraction. There's the trim that goes around there, and all of the other different parts are now separate. And I should be able to apply renders with that in whatever texture I want, and I've got that reset mapping. So at this point, I just need to put it back into the right position. So if I select all of those pieces, move by points, and I just got to make sure I put it back in the right spot. So find the point. So this is where my reveal meets my trim. Got some extra parts set into this window, making it look fatter than it really is. And we'll set it in there. And so that it does not interfere with the window behind it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, will be essentially masking it. I'm just nudging it. So hold the shift key down and use the arrow key. I'm just nudging it. I know it's not going to be in precisely the right position, but it will allow me to add textures to this window without having to deal with it. We'll see just a little bit of the edge of the window that's actually in the wall. But I want to maintain that window in there, especially because of the glass structure and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to have to do that with the doors and the window so that we have individual parts and pieces for this, for adding textures to.